for this week's show is how much better was professional wrestling with fans in the stands? Yes, I know AEW's had fans back for 2 weeks, and they had whatever that was in Jacksonville.
There were people there.
People
at certain point, right? But back by like what, September, October, they had people in like the upper
allegedly,
decks.
They may be robots. We're not sure they're people.
Since last fall.
Allegedly.
People. So yeah, now that we actually have like fans every day, every real show, all that fun stuff.
There are people, real life people sitting through Raw.
Yeah, there was, and Raw was so much better with people sitting there through it.
It kind of was.
We somehow got through a Bill Goldberg thing and nobody died.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't the best thing ever, but I mean, it was more entertaining than it would have been.
Fans made that better because remember we had Goldberg versus Braun Strowman with one fan.
Yes,
and it may have been the worst wrestling match I've ever seen in my life.
It was pretty bad.
My eyes are still bleeding from that match. You can't see it because you can't see me. So my question, or I guess my question for you guys, or whatever you guys want to talk about, is at the end of the day, we've talked about how bad Monday Night Raw's been. We've talked about how above average NXT and SmackDown have been. I feel like everything took a step forward because they have fans. Now, we were at the Road Rager show for AEW in Miami.
You guys were, yeah.
Yeah, you weren't here yet, obviously.
No.
Because that was why we didn't have a show last week, because
I
was driving him from Maine. So now whenever you look at it from the perspective of the fans, the fact that we have fans, I don't think Raw and SmackDown and NXT, I think they're going to keep taking steps forward and get better as we progress, because obviously Monday Night Raw seems like they were in autopilot for the last...
At least the last 2 or 3 months, yeah, for sure.
And SmackDown was taking chances with certain things, but in other things, they had to build on Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns fought, I think, twice on SmackDown. Yeah. So, I mean, they really weren't taking many chances there either. He was coming out every night and doing stuff like that. So, that's the thing. I think we're going to see more improvement through everything. AEW, WWE, NXT, even Impact and Ring of Honor as they get fans back. I just want your guys' opinion on how big of a difference do you think the fans made on the week of professional wrestling?
So, okay, can I take a slight pivot and ask you guys a question?
Pivot?
And ask you guys a question related to this?
You have to get pivot on the fucking soundboard, by the way.
I was just going to try to do that now.
For sure. Okay. Do you guys feel like NXT feels kind of minor league now that it's the only of the shows out of Raw, SmackDown, AEW, NXT that is basically in front of a really small audience? Like, they're clearly still in that small little Capitol Wrestling Center. I guess it's really the Performance Center. They have, maybe 200 people in that crowd or so. During the pandemic when Raw and SmackDown had nobody and AEW had basically, the dark roster sitting around ringside, and that's who you saw on camera. Even if they had people in the upper stands, you didn't see them. Correct. NXT felt like it belonged with all those other shows because it had the same amount of people, if not more at certain points. Now they kind of feel minor league. And I know it's the development system in WWE. It's factually the minor leagues in a way, but it's weird to go from having them feel like they were on level with just about everybody else. And now you've got AEW in these big arenas. You've got Raw in these big arenas. You got SmackDown in these big arenas. And you've still got NXT at the Capitol Wrestling Center. I don't know. I feel like it's making NXT feel less than. And I don't really love that because I love NXT. But did you guys agree, disagree?
Said on that one, and not just for the reason you just said. Also because from this week on, what they're doing the rosters already, pulling people out of the rosters. It's not even so much their fault. It's just that they're bringing guys up. I mean, Karrion Kross is on Raw now. I mean, we assume he's on Raw permanently. I don't know. Tony up there now. I mean, it's just one of those things where they're plucking out. Look, they are development. They're still development. Joe, you're correct. You had debate about maybe they're on par, close to par as Raw and SmackDown. No, I think we got a reality of that last couple months. They are still in development, and it was made more evident this Monday when you see AEW shows are back to full capacity. You see Raw, SmackDown fucking back to full capacity and doing the thing, and then now NXT is kind of like this. Okay, it's a wrestling show. It's a good show. And by the way, it's still fantastic. It's just that the reality situation.
And I think part of it too is because look, when it all started, when NXT and AEW started on Wednesday nights against each other, NXT was coming to you from Full Sail, also not a big building. Mike and I have actually been there, not a big place. Again, maybe about 200, 250 people on a good day. If everyone's thinking skinny thoughts, that's who you can fit in there. So it's not like it was ever this big arena thing other than at the takeovers. But that said, I don't know. There was a certain energy about Full Sail. There was a certain environment about the way that was all set up that made it come across as a lot more lively than what we're getting right now from the Capital Wrestling Center, CWC.
Say, Joe, that the energy, like, even though obviously Raw has more bigger capacity, I would say when I started watching NXT 2 years ago, I would argue the energy in NXT in that Full Sail was way more palpable than fucking what Raw SmackDown was doing in 2019.
Oh yeah, like look.
Let's see. We've sat through.
We saw that Ciampa.
We sat through 4 full NXT tapes.
We saw when Ciampa won the title.
We saw Ciampa win the belt.
that was a crazy.
We've seen cage matches.
Yep.
We've seen wars. We've seen the Street Profits basically dive into the stands. Hell, we had Triple H about 8 feet from us to our right when he went into the stands.
Right.
We've literally seen a lot of things happen inside Full Sail.
And look,
that crowd was bananas.
And look, we're indie wrestling fans, as you know, Mike and I. Like, we were big indie wrestling fans. The Full Sail crowd would sometimes come across as like a rabid Ring of Honor crowd.
Mm-hmm.
A Ring of Honor crowd in the Hammerstein Ballroom, or even in like the upstairs in the Manhattan Center.
Don't ever disrespect the Hammerstein Ballroom ever again. It's the Hammerstein Ballroom.
Oh, sorry.
That man has taken over that building.
I apologize. So, but like honestly, Full Sail had an element about it that maybe was even reminiscent of like the ECW arena, and not even just when ECW would run it. Because like, look, I've been to the ECW arena for Ring of Honor shows. I've been to the ECW arena for Chikara shows. Like, that place has just a certain environment about it. And I don't know, like, there's just something.
I'm not necessarily saying that the CWC may not get to that. I think right now that WWE is being very selective. I mean, obviously, me and Joe looked up earlier today because of an announcement that was made. Hey, breaking news is just in for those of you that haven't been on the internet.
You need a sound drop that's like breaking news.
I have that actually. So I'm seeing one here. Is that?
Make it happen.
I don't have it right now.
Come on, dance, monkey, dance.
Dance, monkey, whoa, whoa.
Where is it? Is it breaking news going on?
Moves there. He is a little gay. He definitely at least a little bit.
Good Lord.
He's
got a little him. Yeah.
He's at least Googled Brook Street Boys once or twice. Come on, admit it. Mormon boys, what's your thing?
Lady boys. All right. So it's been announced that due to the hand injury to Walter. Him and Ilya Dragunov will not fight. Didn't fight tonight on the NXT UK show. It has been announced the night after SummerSlam, August 22nd.
22nd.
August 22nd, NXT TakeOver 36 for the United Kingdom title. It will be Ilya Dragunov versus Walter.
On the biggest stage that
supposedly
NXT
it's going to be at the CWC. Personally, I think this is the one where they rip the Mandate off and they let everybody come to it that wants to.
I really would.
See, the thing that the feeling I have from the CWC is it's more like almost like Fight Club. Like, it's kind of like dingy, worked up. Like, it's just, but this is the building that you have to go through to get to the limelight and to the big stage and all that. So it's like, I don't hate the CWC from that perspective. I like the fact that they've done it with like the chain link fence around the barriers and stuff like that. It makes it very unique.
It's like if Raw Underground had actually worked.
I don't think that bad.
I mean, that's how it feels.
See, but I feel like it's unique because they're not going and traveling to different venues.
It's definitely unique.
So I think that's the thing.
It's definitely unique.
And I think that's the thing for NXT. NXT has to be remembered here as a developmental brand. They made the mistake of trying to go up against a full-fledged multi-million-dollar company in AEW on that night. That was never going to work. That's why they moved to Tuesday nights. As much as they want to say it's because USA. No, they did it because the logical fucking assumption was if we can win the audience on Tuesday night, why are we competing with somebody on Wednesday night?
Right.
So all you have to do, you got to remember, how many minor league baseball stadiums have you ever been to in your life? Not a lot. I've been to a ton. None of them look like Major League Baseball stadiums.
No.
I think that's kind of what they're doing with here. It's a wrestling center. You're gonna win matches. You're gonna build yourself, and then you're eventually gonna get to the next level.
No, and that totally makes sense. But like as a viewer, you obviously, I don't know, like
as a viewer, the only thing that's hurting NXT is that they're still by invitation. If they open that up to a full-fledged audience, that place would be just as wild as Full Sail.
That's true. That is very true.
That's just mine.
Okay, so to answer Mike's actual question, to go back, I'm sorry for having hijacked.
Hey, you're fine.
Pivot.
Yeah, wrestling this week was a million times better with an audience in WWE alone. It's been better for AEW for the last couple of weeks.
Except for every time that the fucking Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny are on my screen.
Well, but that's not the audience's fault.
It's awful.
You don't miss the Butcher?
You know what I miss? Trent.
I do miss Trent.
There you go. Pivot.
So, no, like I honestly, WWE definitely has benefited from having live crowds. I think one thing that's kind of interesting, and we saw this on Hell in a Cell, not Hell in a Cell. What was the pay-per-view? Money in the Bank. Look, it's not my fault. We saw this on Money in the Bank specifically when Charlotte was in the ring and the crowd started chanting for Becky and she was flipping them off. All of a sudden, and remember, I said this, I think I even said it on the podcast after we watched Money in the Bank, but I've definitely said this in the past. I low-key think that Vince McMahon loved not having an audience for a while because he could do whatever the hell he wanted. He had no accountability. He didn't have to worry about who wasn't getting over, what storyline wasn't getting over. Do we need to switch things up?
Yeah, we don't have to worry about anybody booing anybody out of the building.
No, exactly. You don't have to worry about a crowd chanting CM Punk. You don't have to worry about a crowd chanting "We want Becky" while Charlotte Flair's in the ring. You know, you didn't have to worry about any of that stuff. And that's kind of ironic because it's not like Becky doesn't still work for the company, so I don't know why that one upsets them.
But they weren't wrong.
Well, no.
But I definitely wanted Becky over fucking Charlotte.
Well, yeah, of course, we all do. But, like, at the end of the day, like, it's funny because I feel like that was a moment where Vince McMahon was just like, oh, crap, I don't have control over this anymore the way I used to. You know, it's not – look, WWE and pro wrestling in general is a very interesting conglomerate of different types of entertainment. It's a scripted television series that's filmed in front of a live studio audience that gets to actually react to it like it's a sporting event. And that becomes a very unique thing in my mind because, you know, it's like if you were filming an episode of Empire and you had a crowd in front of you and every time Cookie wasn't on the screen, they started chanting, "We want Cookie."
Empire fan too?
Of course I love Empire.
Dude, that's awesome. Mike, Empire now?
Cookie's the most sassy person in the world. Every gay man loves Cookie.
Just amazing.
But you know, all I'm saying though is like you don't get that with other forms of entertainment. You know, like there's not a live crowd watching Vin Diesel film Fast and Furious 9 chanting "We want Paul Walker." Like that's not a fear that you have to have in that realm. But it is in WWE, and it's funny because like for a while, you know, Vince has always said, what's the famous quote from Beyond the Mat? Vince is out there saying, "We make movies." For a while, for the last like 15 months or so, they were literally just making movies. They literally were just putting out productions. And now they can't do that. Now they actually have a crowd that's going to react, that's going to be unruly, that's going to be uncontrollable. It's like working with dogs and babies.
For it, motherfucker. I'm here.
It's just the truth. Like that's where they're at right now. And I think it was funny that like a moment like that happened on the first pay-per-view that they were back. And right away they were kind of like, oh crap, we don't want this. What can we do? Drop the feed. Or you know what I mean? Like it was interesting. It was an interesting view into the minds of the people in charge at WWE. Vince McMahon.
Let me ask you this quick. Because we're 2 weeks now into this, you know, crowd being back, really.
With AEW at the very least, yeah.
Which brand has benefited the most so far?
AEW.
You think so?
I think AEW, because at the end of the day, they're the one that's still growing. WWE is the pinnacle, no pun. WWE is at the top of the mountain. WWE they have no higher to go. You know what I mean? They're the family that's in charge in Game of Thrones. They're the Lannisters, you know. They have nowhere to go but down technically, and they're not going down anytime soon if we're all being honest. They're another stratosphere of pro wrestling. And so at the end of the day, like, yeah, it's great as viewers. It's great to have fans back. It's great to see that. I bet as the in-ring performers and the wrestlers, I bet they love having fans back. It motivates them more. It's what they do it for in a lot of senses, you know? So, I mean, in those senses, WWE benefits. But AEW is still growing. AEW is still, you know, going up the ladder right now. And at the end of the day, AEW is going to look better for having fans in the crowd who are there making the show more complete, more whole, making it more exciting to watch. Well, I mean, Dynamite the last couple of weeks.
If that's the case, they've had fans since fucking back in whatever, and we're still stuck with this shit Kenny Omega fucking storyline.
Yeah, but it's been better the last couple of weeks.
No, it hasn't.
I think it's been better the last couple of weeks.
What's Kenny Omega done the last 2 weeks? He sat in a fucking ring with a fucking microphone with Tony Schiavone. The fact that Kenny Omega has to have an interview segment on every show makes that show come to a crashing fucking halt.
I don't know, but the stuff with Adam Page, I'm enjoying.
I agree with Mike on this one to some degree. Kenny Omega's fucking lame as shit.
He is, but it works against Adam Page.
But the angle's great.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and I think that it wouldn't be as great if it wasn't for the fact that it's in front of crowds.
I think they were going to this route whenever they had crowds in Jacksonville. The fact that you have a crowd in Dallas or in Miami or Syracuse, New York, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that this storyline, cool. Kenny Omega, hot garbage. Having an interview segment on every fucking Dynamite in the middle of the show, hot garbage. Like, oh, okay, cool. Now we set up a 10-man elimination tag match for one of the shows. So what? We're gonna add a Kenny Omega interview segment at the beginning, and that's gonna be the main event. Like, at the end of the day, sometimes less is more when it comes to being the executive vice president, having to be on the TV screen every fucking week.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, I told you this when we were driving over that, you know, oh, you put him on the poster. Put him in a fucking pre-tape segment and let him come out like after the show in a dark match that you don't air on TV and let him wrestle. Like go back to doing the little things when it comes to Kenny Omega. At the end of the day, we're literally doing this, and it's the cheesiest, fucking corniest fucking storyline in the world. And I'm ready for it to fucking be over. I'm ready for it to fucking be Adam Hangman Page's time. And if for some reason Hangman does not walk out of Chicago as the world champion and it stays on Kenny Omega, I will literally lose my fucking mind.
I don't see that happening. I honestly don't see that happening.
So huge now the crowds. I mean, now the Chet and Cowboy shit now on the regular. I mean, there's no way.
You two are literally hoping that this guy pulls the fucking trigger and taking the title off of the fucking.
I mean, I'm not saying that.
I think he has to.
You know, Mike, I'm not saying what you're saying is actually inaccurate.
They should never have put the fucking titles on the Young Bucks. They should have never have put the title on Kenny to fucking begin with.
I don't know. I never minded Kenny actually winning the belt. I felt like that worked at the time.
That adopted is not really something that we necessarily like, but I mean, he still put on great matches though. I mean, once it's in the ring, it's fucking okay. It's kind of big.
And at the end of the day, too, I think he's about to take some time off because that man looks burnt out and and he apparently has a bunch of nagging injuries and stuff. So I just don't see any scenario where they're not going to put the title on
until Daniel Bryan shows up. Until CM Punk shows up, and then Kenny Omega goes, "Oh, I got to stay to wrestle them first because you know I'm the best bout machine." No,
I don't know that he has to wrestle them first, though. I think he'd rather go heal up for a couple of months and then come back and be like in better shape to wrestle them.
Speaking of, there is some breaking news actually. According to Ringside.com, they're saying that CM Punk is 100% AEW.
Who?
CM Punk is.
No. Who's
Ringside News?
I don't know who that. I don't know. Are they reputable?
I mean, they're fairly known.
Are they PW Insider?
No, PW Insider, unfortunately.
No, that's who I believe. If you're not Mike Johnson or Dave Scherer, I don't actually believe a lot of what you say.
Discussed this yesterday too. Yeah.
I mean, I look at it from this standpoint.
Yeah.
I look at it from this standpoint. I already told Joe. I've figured out the way that they all fucking debut on any show that they decide to do.
Wait, I'm glad you're here. Wait, Mike, because we discussed it last night on the Daily.
I know.
No, I know. What's your reaction to the possibility of Daniel Bryan coming to AEW and CM Punk as well?
I am actually the one I think that is the biggest naysayer from either or both of them going there. Obviously, Bryan coming over would be a get. Punk would be a acquisition, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
CM Punk has stepped in a wrestling ring in 5 years. You don't know what you're getting from him. Sure, you can cut a hell of a promo. Sure, you could put him in a stable with someone and let him go with Omega and the Elite and do whatever the fuck he wants to do. I don't really care.
Right.
But at what cost? Is this no more Jungle Boy push? Is this no more Darby? Is this, Miro drops the TNT title to one of them? Is it? There are so many. Their roster right now. We could take a 15-minute to 30-minute segment and take just the AEW roster that's signed to a contract and draft 2 different shows like Raw and SmackDown, and I still think we'd have a plethora of talent.
Right. I got this discussion with actually our friend Big Jim about this very topic, and we discussed it last night too with Joe. That I think the only reason why I think this wouldn't be as big an issue with that is that because I believe that both guys are going to be working probably part-time, so there'll be enough space to still utilize other talent. I don't think you'll see them on TV every single week in the same way they were with the WWE.
But can we?
We kind of said the same thing about John Moxley. We kind of said the same thing about Christian, and those guys have been there every week with the exception of whenever Moxley had the kid.
No, I thought Moxley would be a week-to-week guy, personally.
But one thing, and just to bring it back to the topic, though, I think this is one of those moments, though, where, like, let's say this actually ends up happening. Let's say Punk debuts pretty soon in AEW. Let's say Daniel Bryan debuts pretty soon in AEW. The fact that it's going to happen in front of live crowds makes it mean so much more than it would have a couple of months ago. Look at Andrade's debut and look at Tommy End's debut. Yeah. 2 completely different things. Andrade's debut was awesome, but it wasn't this most memorable moment like Malachi Black's debut was. That happening in front of that live crowd, in front of you guys, was fucking awesome. And that moment needed to be in front of a live crowd. Look, we all know, we've all been watching wrestling long enough, even you, Ernest, to know that the crowd can make a moment and make a match better than it is. They could also take away from something that would be really great otherwise. I've seen that too. Matches that I love that I'm just like, well, but the audience is sitting on their hands and this is low-key kind of shitty because of it. But then there's also there's The Rock and Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 18. That match is the drizzling shits in ring-wise, but that crowd makes it a 4-star match at the very least. Yeah. You have that. There's in Ring of Honor history, there was Joe and Kobashi. People will say forever that match was one of the best Ring of Honor matches. But there are people who will sit there and tell you also that it's only like that because the crowd, which I was in that crowd, were rabid for that match. They were crazy for that match. They were like, oh my God, we're watching a legendary pro wrestler and Samoa Joe, our champion, out there putting on this performance. That was made by the crowd. Wrestling needs crowds. We've known this. And the last 15 months have really proven it. And the last 2 weeks have proven it even more, honestly.
Well, I'm going to say this because I literally just saw the news. The Impact storyline involving Kenny Omega excites me more than
Jay White.
Watching him fucking talk on America every week. Yeah, because Jay White came out tonight and said, I'm sick and tired of you guys fucking throwing up 2 sweets since 2013. So, yeah, give me Switchblade because at the end of the day, I'd rather Switchblade be involved and have this whole Bullet Club thing so they can go all fall for fucking face of the earth together and not have to fucking worry about it anymore. At the end of the day, is it breaking news? Okay, let's and then we can move on or whatever. The Kenny Omega problem that I have is that he has centered himself. The Young Bucks are like Dollar Tree versions of themselves, and the Good Brothers are only good for swinging title belts from their dick.
Oof.
Okay, but here's a question for you though.
Okay.
And earlier today, you and I were talking, and you were saying how the tag division, in your opinion, AEW sucks. Right. Which I see your point because the way it's booked,
garbage
isn't the greatest. The teams are there,
sure.
The talent's there. If you had to right now, not booking something new, not fixing the booking.
Okay.
But what other team would be champions right now other than the Young Bucks, given the shitting booking? But they haven't been booked in a way where they should be champions.
Good Brothers.
Yeah.
Potentially the team of Kingston and Moxley.
Kingston and Moxley might be the only ones that actually make sense, in terms of the current booking. That's all I'm saying.
The Good Brothers.
They haven't even wrestled a tag match in AEW.
And that's probably the most annoying thing after Kenny Omega's the way he's been acting is the fact that they haven't done shit
No, they show up and they just corner Omega.
I would also argue that you could put the titles on Death Triangle. You could have put it on Uno and Grayson. You could have put it on.
But how do you put it on Uno and Grayson when they've had barely 3 matches on Dynamite? That's what I'm saying. Like, if
the Young Bucks have had 3 matches, and fucking 2 of them were against FTR, and one of them won the fucking world titles. The other one was in fucking Miami against Penta and
No, they've been on Dynamite like every week wrestling, more or less.
It ain't a talent issue. It's a fucking booking issue.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're going yes, I agree with you. There are better teams that deserve to be champions, and if they booked it correctly, it would make sense. From the current booking, the shitty booking that they're giving, which I agree with you about. That was your point.
Hold on. The shitty booking, but you guys love what they're doing. You guys love the matches.
I love the company overall. Yes, I do. I love the matches that they're putting out.
But what I'm getting at is how can you love hot garbage, but then criticize WWE when they're putting out hot garbage? It's hot garbage either way. The tag team division in AEW, hot garbage. The women's division in AEW, hot garbage. Kenny Omega with a fucking promo with Tony Khan pulling the fucking Bangkok joke that you pulled in 7th grade. Garbage. At the end of the fucking day, garbage is garbage, but we love it. We love the garbage in that company. It smells like flowers.
I like the matches. I like the in-ring matches. Like, I'm sorry, the Young Bucks have actually been delivering recently. The last couple of weeks at Impact, I've enjoyed them.
I would take AJ and Omos versus the Viking Raiders over the Young Bucks.
You have fun with that. No, I'm good on that.
Again, it's an issue about it's the ring. The in-ring product is good. It's the booking I have a problem with. But
But the problem is the in-ring work is a fucking it revolves around the booking. Right. The fact of the matter is they should not have beaten FTR for the titles 6 fucking months ago.
That I agree with.
Bring over FTR. That's the tag team that you have the title belts on from the very fucking beginning.
I don't disagree with that.
And then the Lucha Bros could have gotten it. Death Triangle with Pac, Eddie Kingston, and Pentagon. You could have gotten there and gotten the titles off the Young Bucks that way. You could have gotten them to Luchasaurus and fucking Jungle Boy at one point. I would have put the titles on fucking SCU for fucking 3 weeks.
But I don't disagree with any of that. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit here and act like that. Okay, so I don't have to be thrilled that the Young Bucks are champions, but I'm not going to act like them against Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley wasn't an excellent match. I'm not going to act like them against Penta and Pac or whoever, Ray Phoenix and Pac, whichever.
It was Penta.
I don't think
right. That match was fucking sick. That match was amazing.
That match was sick because it was a 13-minute car crash.
But that's what it needed to be. Tell me that you haven't watched PWG main events that weren't exactly that you didn't love.
I do think so.
But at the end of the day, from the standpoint of the booking, they should not be the tag team champions. How do you get the titles off them in the current booking? You give the fans the title change. You let the fans erupt at the fact that Eddie Kingston and fucking Pentagon are walking out of Miami randomly as tag team champions because they're the number 1 contenders. Because, I don't know, they're the number 1 ranked team in your rankings that you don't even fucking follow.
I mean, that would have been awesome if they had won.
I will say this much, though. I think maybe it probably won't happen, but ever since the face turn, Santana Ortiz seems to be a lot more serious now. Now, one of the company decides to book him as the next in line, I don't know. But I'm just saying that's.
No, you're gonna get like who are 2 single guys that we could put together into a random fucking tag team. We're gonna get let's see, Frankie Kazarian and
Peter
Marco Stunt. They're going to be the next fucking contenders for the tag titles because, let's just put random fucking people together. And
what you're saying, Mike, is correct, actually. I actually agree with you. The booking is fucking crap. I agree with you on that one. It's just the who at this point.
But at the end of the day, my point is you can have all the great in-ring matches in the world. But if they don't make sense from the storyline perspective, it does not help fix the fact that it's garbage.